Hello everyone, welcome to Cloud Institution. And Cloud Institution is the best cloud training providers in Bangalore, and we are just providing both online and offline classes with the various cloud computing and various courses. So please reach out to us if you're looking for any kind of a courses. Okay, so today we're going to see about how to create a EC2 instances, EC2 Linux instance in Amazon Web Services, and we're going to see the step-by-steps the procedure how to create the EC2 instances, right? So for this, what are we going to do is that we are going to we are going to see first that so what is EC2. So EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud, right? So EC2 is a virtual server. So what do you mean by virtual server? So in cloud computing, so the virtual server is something like the small kind of a virtual machine that can be hosted on the cloud, right? So this virtual machine in virtual the virtual server will be created based on different hypervisor methods, so that we are going to discuss in the later classes. So for today, and so we are going to create some kind of EC2 instances, and we are going to launch it. So when you launch EC2 instances, that the instance types that you specify determines the hardware available to your instances. Okay, so the each instances types offer a different balanced of compute, memory, and network and storage resources. So what does it mean is that whenever you're creating EC2 instance, so EC2 instance is nothing but kind of a very small virtual machine. Okay, so what does that virtual machine will do is that so it is going to so it is going to be having kind of a different kind of a hardware resources, like so compute, memory, and network and storage resources based on your application needs. So as part of this particular session, we are going to do a demo of the first order. We are going to launch EC2 instances in AWS and connect to the EC2 instances and run some Linux commands to make sure that so the EC2 instance is working fine or not, right? So now I'm directly going to the Amazon Web Services console. So is the AWS console. As you can see here, so if you click on this one, AWS Linux console, you'll be seeing all these kind of options. So these are the services which I've been used before, which is showing it as a default options, right? So we have a different regions and availability zones. So in order to choose kind of regions whichever you wanted to provision your EC2 instances, you have to go to the top right corner and then click below, and then choose the which region you wanted to create your service. For example, I'm going to create my EC2 instances on Mumbai region. Okay, so it's been already selected. If you wanted to go, if some of your region is something different, if you're working from US, then you can just go any one of your US regions, and vice versa, something else if you are using something else, right? So now, so if you wanted to create the EC2 instances, we have to go to type here EC2. Okay, so here is the EC2 instance. The front page will be created. So here you can see instances running is 0, so which means that we don't have any kind of a instance already been running. So if you want to launch instances, so you're going to create a launch. If you want to launch instances, I mean that so if you want to create instances, you have to click on this launch instance option. So click on launch instance and give some the name of your instances. I'm just giving cloud. Okay, the cloud institution is my instance name. So I'm going to choose the Amazon Linux and Ubuntu. We can just use any kind of a different operating systems as per your needs. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to choose the Amazon Linux, Amazon Linux machine. So the Amazon Linux machine is nothing but the flavor of Red Hat, Red Hat operating systems that is going to be used. So what is the difference between Amazon Linux and the Red Hat is that so Amazon Linux has some kind of a predefined package is being installed and customized based on Amazon, so Amazon features. For example, if you want to work on AWS CLI, so AWS CLI is already been installed in this one. Okay, so for example, if you want to go for Terraform and all kind of different options, you can just choose this kind of Amazon Linux options, right? So um, so yeah, so the AMI, so AMI is kind of a Amazon mission image, so which means that so we have already Amazon AWS is already having some kind of a the images that is already been predefined and it's already available, and you can just use it. If you have your own AMIs, so we are going to see kind of a AMI creation and all these things in the later classes. So now I'm going to create the architecture. Okay, so there are two architectures out there. You can just choose whichever architecture you want based on your application needs, right? So then you're going to select some kind of a, the instance types. So this is very, very important, guys. So what is the instance type is all about is that, so t2.micro is instance type, which means that whenever you're choosing the t2.micro, so it can give you a 1 vCPU and 1 GB memory, so this is kind of a hardware specification you will get for these particular instances. So what do you mean by free tier eligible? Which means that if you opt for your account to be able to create a, for the free tier, if you created if you have your free tier account of, so whenever you're creating the EC2, I mean the AWS account, so you have to choose whether the free tier or so premium and all this kind of a tiers you have to choose. So if you have chosen the free tier, and most of the things, so whenever you're choosing this t2.micro, you'll be having kind of a 750 hours of 750 hours of t2.micro for the first year. So you can just run for the instances for the 750 hours of the t2.micro instances for free. Okay, so that is the reason why if you want to do it for a testing purpose, you have to use the t2.micro option. Okay, so the key pair, what is the key pair? So the key pair is something like, so key pair is used to connect. It's kind of if you don't know about kind of Linux, if you are very new to the Linux infrastructure, and key pair is kind of a password authentication for your, I mean, like SSH authentication for your for instances, so instead of, so we don't AWS will not support the password authentication. So if you wanted to connect to your instances, and EC2 will not support the password authentication, you have to create a key pair. Using that key pair, you should be able to create it. So we are going to see one of the demo in the future classes, that how to connect your instances using the key pair with SSH. Okay, so now I'm going to create a key pair. The key pair name is going to be cloud institution key. Okay, so I think I already have the cloud institution key has been created. So I'm going to create a cloud institution key 1. So create a key pair. So whenever I create a key pair, so the key pair will be generated. Okay, and also as you can see here, so whenever creating, like, there is two options. One is PEM file and PPK file. So if you're having kind of a, the MacBook, or if you're using and Linux machines, in your desktop, or if you want to connect these instances from the Linux machine or Mac machines, you have to create the PEM file which support OpenSSH. Okay, so whenever you're connecting from Windows, okay, so if you wanted to connect this machine from Windows, and you have to click on PPK, and then you have to use this PPK file to connect to the Linux instance. Okay, for now we have used the PEM file. All right, so now as you can see in network settings, so we are going to see all the VPC and all these things in the future classes. So now we're going to allow SSH traffic from anywhere. Okay, so by default we are going to allow the SSH traffic to these instances. So, and in the future classes we are going to see some of the security groups options and everything, so let's see in the future classes. So now I'm going to configure it for the 8 GB of storage space. So which means that this is kind of a EBS volume, right? It's elastic block storage volume. So whenever you are creating a EC2 instances, you have to allocate some kind of a storage, the storage space for this particular instances to be created. So now I'm giving that 8 GB of the storage space. So this is the very, very bare minimum storage disks has to be attached to your EC2 instances if it is a Linux. So if it is a Linux, it's going to be 8 GB. If it's a Windows, it's going to be 30 GB. So is it possible if I can reduce the 7 GB? So it's not going to work, because the 8 GB is the bare minimum, the storage requirement for the EC2 instance to be created, right? So now, we're not going to do any kind of advanced details for now, so we can see this later. And if you want to create a one instance, I'm going to create only one instances. And if you want to create more than one instances, you can just increase more than one instance as well, right? So I'm going to create only one instance for now. I'm going to launch instance. So now this is the instance is already been created, right? So this is the instance instance ID. So if you wanted to launch an instances, you have to click on here, and as you can see, the cloud institution, the instance whatever we have created is already running here. Okay, so now if you want to connect to this instance, so what are we going to do now is that we have created this EC2 instance, and we are going to connect to this EC2 instance. Okay, so if you want to connect to this EC2 instance, what you have to do is that you have to click on this button. Okay, click on here and then click on connect. Okay, so now, so it's giving a warning that so the SSH port is been opened to all IPv4. Okay, so this is what it is showing. So now we have opened the SSH port for the internet. Internet means 0.0.0.0/0, which means that so it is being exposed to the internet. So it's giving you a warning about this EC2 instance. So now now what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to do anything else. Then I'm going to click on connect. So if you have already logged in to this, so the Mumbai, so if you're logged into your account here already, then you don't need to give any kind of credentials, and you can click on connect. Okay, it's establishing connection. Okay, so as you can see here, so we have created one simple Amazon Linux EC2 instances, right? So this is kind of a very basic instances which we have created. If you can just give kind of a ls command, and you can just give touch so the test.txt, so we are going to create some kind of a test file. So in this machine, so all these things we can just do. If you want to create any kind of a folders here, you can just do. Okay, so new folder. So as you can see here, so the new folder has been created like this. So this is how you are going to create some kind of a basic EC2 instances, and you're going to connect it, and you're going to run some kind of a basic commands over there. So this summarizes the EC2 instance creation and running some kind of a commands, right? So let's go back here. So we have seen we have seen all this kind of three features, like connect to instances, and so in the next sessions we are going to see some of the different concepts, right? So now, and thank you so much for watching this video, and please follow us on so on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and thank you so much, and see you again in the future videos.